World Wide Web and the world all over is listening in this morning, wherever you are. Delighted to welcome a fine man of these parts, Ross Chapman. How are you?
Fine.
Good to see you again. You're looking healthy and well.
Ah, well, I've got health on my side.
Well, thank God for
somehow.
that. Well, it's a lot to be grateful for, isn't it? We're now talking about the Newry's greatest event, which will occur in the town hall in Newry on the 28th of this month of February. And the intention is to select from 7 nominated people the greatest Newry person ever. And one of the main criteria is the person has to be dead. That's the starting point. So anyone we're going to talk about is dead, and certainly John Grubb Richardson is dead. Ross, why are you taking him to your heart and suggesting he should be regarded as Newry's greatest?
Yes, well, that's a good question. I suppose I admire some of his characteristics. However, he was a man of his time. He was a Victorian. He was at the crest of a wave where the Industrial Revolution was coming, and he saw the opportunities of that. He came and bought a burnt-out mill in Bessbrook in the year 1845, a sad year for Ireland, the coming of the potato blight. But that was the year of opportunity, strangely.
Whence did he come?
Well, his family were in the linen business, bleachers and so on, near Lisburn.
Yes.
And he and his brothers...
He was an Ulster man. He was an Ulster man.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
And the experience of the bleaching and the linen in Lisburn propelled him to go south.
Yes.
And he came to Bessbrook.
There were natural assets around Bessbrook, which he listed. There was a water supply out of Camla Lake, a constant and reliable water source, essential. There was granite for building purposes. There was flax growing. There was a tradition of linen in the area.
Yeah.
And there was, as he unfortunately wrote down, there was a thick population around.
We're thick. We could be regarded perhaps as thick in many terms, but that he spotted that back in the 1800s is something very, very interesting indeed. So, but I mean, to know that there's the granite, I know there's granite, I know I can build. It's a mighty man that builds a granite mill.
Yes.
Physically, what sort of character was he?
Well, physically, he must have had this thing called vision.
Yeah.
And could see ahead. As I say, the Industrial Revolution was coming, and the whole linen business was moving from, as it were, cottage industry of hand spinning and hand loom weaving into factory production. And he could see that.
The Bessbrook he was coming to, were the people welcoming, and would there have been a developing Bessbrook village, a Bessbrook economy, if he had not come and built there?
Well, as far as I can see, it'd be pretty small, maybe 20 or 30 houses, nothing much there. It was he primarily that saw this and built it up, provided housing to accommodate workers for the mill and all the ancillary things that a village needs, a community needs.
These are good things, Ross, but I'm bound to ask you why even these qualities make him Newry's greatest.
Well, I don't actually like being in competition with 6 others in this competition. I've misgivings about that, but for the purposes of this evening that we're arranging, we'll go ahead with it and put forward these and hope that lots of people come and support the cause, the concern of the Syrian refugees.
It's huge,
That's
isn't
the
it?
purpose.
And it's very important for us to repeat that and to remind the people of that. The event, Newry's greatest, on the 28th of February in the town hall. We want to pack the town hall, 500 people there, coming in and paying the ticket at the door and going in and really helping to alleviate the poverty and the need of those in Syria through concern. That's a huge thing to be doing, and it's important. It's actually something that would be very close to your heart, Ross.
Oh, well, yes, but as I think of this horrible word philanthropist or do-gooder, which has got terrible connotations, that some people do this to get publicity for themselves.
Yeah.
And how to do good by stealth is the trick somehow.
Yeah.
And we've all a sort of uneasiness about someone whose name is constantly in the papers of how good they are.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How do you work with that? You must face that yourself.
I face that constantly, and my dilemma, I look back to the example of the Quakers in founding Oxfam, and that's where my interest in many of these things happened. But I think someone said that if the great God of love himself was back on the earth today, that he wouldn't simply be speaking from a hillside. He'd be in the television studio, or he'd be in the radio studio, or he'd be talking about this, that, and the other. I think there's a fine balance there. You need to get the job done. And Grub Richardson would have needed to do that too. You get the job done, and you articulate to the very best of your ability the nature of the projects. So what you're doing for concern, it's very important that that's brought to the attention of the people. Things that I've been doing here, there, and everywhere, very important. Very hard to raise £1 million by sitting in your parlour. I wish I knew, and you wish I knew the trick. Yeah. The only way to do it is to get out there and let it be known. Yes. But it's a fine balance, and I think you've got it right on this occasion in this event in the town hall, because you have a lovely spectrum of the community there.
That's right.
The people who are from Sister Perpetua through to yourself, through to Michael of Crash Services, Michael McKeown, demonstrably good people.
No.
And philanthropy is, it's kind of American, isn't it? We're just ordinary guys and girls trying to do the right thing. Yeah. And we try to do the right thing, I suppose, because it's what our mummies and daddies told us to do. Yeah. It's what we grew up with. It's made us the people we are, I believe. So, given that, it's important that people come, because the Syrian thing is appalling at the moment. And they're now, the people who are getting out were then arrested. They were letting them out, and they've arrested lots of young men, and goodness knows what's going to happen. But Mr. Richardson, how long did he live? Had he a good lifespan?
Oh, good life. I think probably 1815 to 1890. Married. His first marriage ended. At that time, rich and poor knew the dangers of childbirth. At the birth of the second child, his wife died, tragedy, and he married again after some years. He paid great tribute to the importance of women in his life. He wrote that down. And you've heard the old one, behind most good men there's a good woman.
Yeah.
So he certainly laid that down.
Yeah.
And he suffered from nervous breakdowns on a few occasions in his life. And on those occasions, he had to get out of everything, sit at home, and was restored by the feminine touch.
Yeah.
You know?
That's interesting. It's hugely interesting.
And then back again into the fray.
You strike me in talking about him, a great man, but they're under the influence of the pressures of life that surround all of us. And we have a relatively short span on this life. No matter how great or how poor we are, it's the timeline, 70 might take you another 10 or another 20, and then you're pretty, that's it. We are a people of suffering, really, of being knocked back into the back room and recovering and come back again. But the fact that he was able to do that marks him out as someone who didn't stay down.
Well, he kept to this vision of, again, a Victorian concept of wanting to build a society, a village, a community, that he could do good to those of it in every sense. Now, we don't like those words nowadays. We distrust this idea of one individual imposing their will on 3,000 or 4,000.
Yes.
But that's the way it was.
It was then. Well, democracy in the meantime hasn't been all that successful.
Well,
if you look at some of the things we've all come through all over the world.
Well,
so maybe you need a benign dictator. And maybe Grub Richardson was just that, a benign dictator.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Well, I'm sure, he knows and I know, he had his critics, he had his protesters, and had to face that and deal with it, and I hope learn from changing society and the critics in life, that don't they teach us something?
Yeah, because there's little point in learning from your friends. That's the soft eider down of life. But if you're attacked by your enemies and those who disagree with you, even your enemies have a point to make.
That's
and
true.
If you're clever enough to listen, then it makes a bit of sense and you grow from it. You kind of develop another part of your shell, and it's good to do that. So we let the people know, and was he single-handedly responsible for the creation of Bessbrook, the village, as it became, the model village?
Yes, well, it was bought, this core property that had been a mill previously and burnt out, with his brothers, a number of brothers associated with him in the purchase. But he became the one that was the driver of it, as they say nowadays, and he bought the others out and became sole owner. But I notice in reading and about the business and so on, that he had the ability to spot, attract and retain managers with loyalty and imagination and all those things. So in a lot of cases it was those he brought in inspired the thing as well as him.
Yeah. And he had the wisdom to choose the right people.
Well, this is all a key thing. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish John Grub Richardson well, and you will do him proud, no doubt, on the 28th of February for Newry's Greatest at Newry's Town Hall. All money's coming in on the evening, going to Concern, and tickets are available at Carlin Records, at Crash Services, and there's one where else?
Savages.
And Savages around the corner from us. So please, 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 from both my dear friend here on the settee with me this morning, Ross Chapman, and myself, please, we beg you, come out and support it because it's for an excellent cause. Ross, thank you for talking with me.
Thank you.
We'll say farewell to the people now, and just remember as you go about the business of your day, as you struggle between the immensities of your life, kind of try to remember what our friends across the great River Niger would constantly tell you. When you've done your best and can do no more, simply lay your head in your hand and leave the rest to the God you believe in. So go well, be happy, and have a great day. Take care.